Let's talk a little bit more about this cryptocurrency bullshit. I mix what I like, what I like, what I like, what I like, what I like. What's up, world? Welcome to another edition of I Mix What I Like right here at I Mix What I Like. Again, I'm Jared Ball, your host. Thanks for checking back in. So, with some latest developments in the cryptocurrency world, I wanted to check back in and have another discussion with the author of Let Them Eat Crypto, Dr. Pete Howson, who, among other things, is an assistant professor in the Department of Geography and Environmental Sciences at Northumbria University in the UK. We talked with him previously on EYL over there on Black Liberation Media, but I wanted to talk with him once more, as I said, after some recent developments and get a little bit of an update. So let's check it out. Pete Howson, thanks again for joining us. If before we get anywhere, could we just sort of do a quick recap of Let Them Eat Crypto and your argument in the book? And then there are a couple of things happening today that I'd like to get an updated assessment from you on. But yeah, if you would just, and I'll link to the previous your previous visit with us that people can watch. But if you would just tell us, what is Let Them Eat Crypto?
Yeah, so the book, it looks at essentially the greenwashing, the aid washing, the pink washing, all of this nefarious stuff that the crypto industry is doing to wash its image so that it appears like it's this reputable industry that is not only not criminal, but it is actually making the world somehow better, especially for the poorest people and those who are vulnerable. So I'm a professor of international development. So I came to this space in an optimistic fashion. I'd been looking at carbon credits and the way that these I don't know if you're familiar with carbon credits, but essentially you plant trees and then you can monetize them to make money from leaving forest standing. So I'd been looking at these projects for about 10 years, and then these projects started looking at the crypto industry to try and make it easier for buyers and sellers to transact crypto carbon credits using blockchain technology. And I thought, well, this is a brilliant idea. This could actually fix a lot of the problems with it. And I was a bit of a booster. I even set up my own cryptocurrency project called Coast Coin, which was a way of trying to get communities in the northeast of England to do beach cleanups and things like that in exchange for these incentive tokens that they could, go and buy a cream tea or an ice cream in a local shop in exchange for collecting some bags of rubbish off the beach. I thought this was brilliant. I thought it could fix the environment. It could help empower poor people and get them, I guess, economically included within the local economy. How wrong I was. So, I mean, the more I dug into this, the more I realized that this was a very scammy-docious space. And what is being transacted most of the time is almost all 99% of these blockchain projects is a token, which is essentially homemade internet money, which is being, I guess, they sell it to the poorest people in a community, and they make lots of money off the hard work of poor people. It's a predatory industry, and it was one which I wanted to shine a light on, and that's what I did with Let Them Eat Crypto.
No, right on. And so, one of the reasons why I wanted to ask you to come back is because there's been some, at least from my vantage point, renewed energy around talking about crypto as a saving grace. The price of Bitcoin has gone back way up. I don't know to what extent you follow the elections over here, but Donald Trump gets elected, has this interesting appointment I want to ask you about here in a second. But so there would be some who would want to argue it again that no, Dr. Howson, you didn't do something right, that in your own coin development, or you missed something, or now it's on its way, or those who, whatever the narratives are, those who were taught to hold on, those who were taught to ride the ups and downs, the buy the dip, as they used to, all that kind of stuff, are now being rewarded. So looking back on your now looking back since your book came out, and this current state of crypto, what what do you say now? Are you now convinced that your book missed something,
No,
are we all, or they all, in their claims missing something, maybe even intentionally?
yeah, well, no, I mean, my position on this hasn't changed at all. If anything, it's been strengthened by, I think, recent market activities. I mean, just to make the point, like when I was looking at the carbon trading market, there was this argument that crypto tokens that are being used to sell carbon credits, these are not just kind of fairy dust commodities that are being traded by idiots. Like these are derivatives. Like a carbon credit takes its value, it derives its value from an underlying asset, and that being a tree that's been planted somewhere in the world. Even if that is a very kind of arbitrary kind of I guess kind of fictitious form of capital, it is still the underlying asset which is attached to this carbon credit. I mean, I think that you could look at Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies in exactly the same way, except a Bitcoin is derivative in that it derives its value on a bet on the future gullibility of people in the marketplace. And I think what is happening now is that lots of people are speculating that there are a lot of gullible people in the marketplace that are going to fall for things like the Paul Atkins guy who's taken over from Gary Gensler. That you've got Trump coming in, who's friends with Elon Musk and lots of other kind of crypto disciples who are, cult believers in this crypto casino. So I think these are all the reasons that Bitcoin and cryptocurrency are ascending in value, and it's got nothing to do with more and more people using this technology. They're not. There's still no one's using it. When I say no one's using it, they're not using it to buy and sell things. I mean, if you're familiar with the Satoshi Nakamoto's white paper on Bitcoin, it's meant to be a peer-to-peer system of digital cash. No one's using it for that. The only reason people are using it is to speculate on future gullibility, or to evade taxes, or like what they do in Russia, to pay off some mercenary in Central African Republic who's doing your dirty work fighting for you in Ukraine or something like that. Like all of the reasons why people think that Bitcoin is ascending, it's got nothing to do with its utility. It's purely because of speculation and this fear and greed index, which is currently pointing towards greed. That's the only thing.
Yeah, I mean, in your book, I know you tracked the El Salvador example, and a couple of others where the claim was, again, the currency is going to come in here and save this poor country. And you point out there, nobody uses it. They in part, that's the other thing I keep being baffled by when people talk about the stock price and the value of Bitcoin going up. It's going up in its value in US dollars, which people who advocate for it claim it's going to replace as a currency. So it's how can you find value in a currency that is meant to replace the currency its value is measured in? I, I know I'm not the expert here, but that sounds just plainly illogical to me. Um, but yeah,
Yeah, I mean,
so
it's
yeah.
the sheer mental gymnastics that goes into keeping crypto afloat is, it's Harry Houdini levels of craziness. I mean, you're right. I mean, this argument that the reason that Bitcoin is valuable and should be accumulated, by savvy people who know that the future value is going to be so so high that this digital nothingness is going to take over from gold as a global store of value, I mean, is nonsense. I mean, I'm not a gold fan, I don't have any gold. It's not something that I buy into either. Well, the reason that the prices are going high is because you've got these big institutional investors right now that are putting lots of effort into doing a lot of false trades, a lot of basically wash trading, in order to send the price up. That brings in lots of hype from the mass media, and with that you get lots of new market entrants who think that they're buying in at the right time, and then they are having the rug pulled out from underneath them. Inevitably, this will happen, in the next, at the end of this cycle. So we're looking at sort of 3 months probably, because that's the way these cycles run. And all of those poor people and vulnerable folks that the advocates of crypto say they're helping are the ones that are going to be left with nothing. And this happens every time, and it does primarily impact the poorest, not just in the US, in the global north, but actually much of the time in the global south, which is what a lot of the book is focused on. So in markets in sub-Saharan Africa and Southeast Asia, where these markets and are completely unregulated, these are the people that lose everything.
The last time I checked, a couple months ago, maybe a month ago, the websites that track this were saying roughly 10% of wallets have 90% of Bitcoin in them. So to the point that you were making about institutional investment, whether it's in the blockchain technology or whether it's in exchanges and platforms, fintech related stuff, or if it's all of that, to me, speaks to the already accumulated space that this is. That is, that the Bitcoin itself is already accumulated. The entire industry is being managed and manipulated by those who have already themselves and elsewhere in the economy accumulated so many resources. I know BlackRock is now investing, JP Morgan's investing. I mean, everybody, as you said, so even more to the point is, as in terms of my own focus, the idea that this can be as a mechanism of overturning inequality just makes even less sense. But and then I even saw recently that mining operations are themselves often consolidated in terms of the biggest, those who are able to do the most mining to solve these equations and do, to come up. So I say all of that to say, does any of that sound incorrect to you? Or are you seeing anything else happening in terms of accumulation, consolidation, that might either challenge what I'm saying or support or add,
I mean,
some substance to what I'm saying? Yeah.
The wonderful thing about blockchain technology is that it is completely transparent, and you can actually see all of these things. You can see how many mining pools are operating to create new Bitcoin. I mean, what we know is that last time I checked, there were 3 mining pools. 3. So there are essentially 3 cartels that are making all the Bitcoin that we currently are trading at $100,000 a piece. I mean, not even a lot. The whole crypto marketplace is built on contradictions. And when you find an advocate of Bitcoin or cryptocurrency and you start poking them about, these claims about what actually gives this stuff value, they know it doesn't. They know it has no value. They are just very much aware that lots of people are interested in buying their fairy dust, and so they are obviously going to just say, oh yeah, decentralization, disintermediation, all of these buzzwords that get Silicon Valley tech people, moist or whatever. But like, essentially, when you look at their argument where they say that actually, if we have a digital version of gold, then that is completely devoid of any kind of human fallibility, and it can be completely decentralized in the way that it's produced and is, I guess, kind of spread around the marketplace. When you push them and just say, well, how is it then that you've got these three cartels that are mining all of the Bitcoin in the world? This is far more centralized than what we have in the world of traditional finance, which again, I'm not a fan of at all. So, I mean, it perhaps a better way of looking at it is that there is no disintermediation. There's not a kind of democratization of finance, which is going on with Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. What you have instead is a re-intermediation, which is far more centralized. So you have the whales, these are the people, as you say, the biggest wallet addresses that maintain the huge bulk of the supply, and they can move markets just with the sheer power of their holdings. And these are the same people who own, CoinDesk and the websites that advocate for this whole industry. And they're also the ones that own the mining pools. So like, there's a complete conflict of interest which is going on with this market, which is completely unregulated as well. I mean, I think this is going to get worse as well. I mean, when I wrote the book, I started it off because I was completely sure that this stuff was on its way out. Like, I'd written this book and gone, what is even the point of writing this? Because it's like, it's dead, the whole thing. Everyone suddenly realized with the kind of collapse of these, shit coins and things, that this stuff is just complete nonsense. But then, sure enough, the next year the same hype cycle begins, and now it's we're in unprecedented times where we've got a Bitcoin that's just gone over the 6-figure mark.
And people are still getting rug pulled all over the place. The Hawk Tua girl apparently just got caught up in some chicanery with the coin that she was promoting or was supposed to be launching or whatever. So I mean, people are still getting. Yeah. Anyway, I sorry to cut you off, but it was just I just saw that story, and first of all, I'm mad I even know who this young woman is, but that I saw that she's involved in this. I don't know if you're even familiar with this story, but that hopefully you're not actually, but that but she's apparently involved in a. CoffeeZilla just did I saw a little breakdown anyway, so the scams are still happening.
But this goes right to the very top. Yeah. And what chance do we have? I mean, you've got these sort of, I don't know, these TikTok influencers that are getting involved in crypto scams. That's one thing. But when you've got the man himself, Donald Trump, who is also involved with these wash trades as well, and nothing will happen. It's like Melania Trump. This was back in like 2000, right, I think 2021.
Yeah.
She auctioned her picture of her wearing a big hat while she was in Paris, and it turned out that the winning bid of this hat, which she sold at Sotheby's or Christie's or wherever, was herself. And it was just like, we've got a blockchain, so you can see that, that where the money just looped straight back round to her own bank account. And this is, the first lady. So when you've got people like this who are advocating for and, legitimizing this industry, no wonder it's not going away.
Well, this is actually when I saw this, it was this kind of story that was wanting me to again link up with you to talk about this. But the good folks over at Wall Street on Parade reported the other day that despite more than 1,600 tech scientists signing a letter calling crypto a sham, Trump names a crypto cheerleader for SEC chair. And I feel like my memory's bad, but I feel like you mentioned this letter in your book. Am I maybe I'm not remembering that correctly, but does that ring a bell? Did I mess? Maybe I don't have that right.
Yeah, what's the date of that? December 5th,
So, do,
2024.
well, this is when the story came out. The letter is a couple of years old. The letter came out, I think, in 2019. There's no good reason to trust blockchain technology, and I remember it because of the debates and arguments I was having, where, excuse me, good thing we got, have to edit that too. Excuse me. Well, as the story says here, 2 years ago, more than 1,600 computer scientists, software engineers, and technologists from around the world.
I do. I think that's from the introduction in the book. Yeah.
That's what I thought. They sent a letter to the U.S. Senate and House committee chairs, ranking members, and congressional leaders, and these are all people who work in these related computing and technological fields. And the point was, I remember what piqued my interest at the time, that they said that they strongly disagree with the narrative peddled by those with a financial stake in the crypto asset industry. So to the point you were just making, it's the story about all of this that got me first interested more than anything else. That once the narrative started coming out that this was financial freedom and revolution and autonomy and sovereignty and all of these things that trickle down to the poorest and most colonized, abused populations in this country and around the world as the saving grace, I was like, no, this is bizarre. In other words, it wasn't even, it's not often promoted on the logic of even its own claims, or the logic of its own claims around its technology, or the fantasy around a currency. It's just strictly marketed propagandistically as something else. So, but they're saying that there's nothing of value here. There's that as software engineers and technologists with deep expertise in our fields, we dispute the claims being made in recent years about the novelty and potential of blockchain technology. Blockchain technology cannot and will not have transactional reversal or data privacy mechanisms because they are antithetical to its base design. Financial technologies that serve the public must have mechanisms for fraud mitigation and allow human in the loop to reverse transactions. Blockchain permits neither. So that was one part of it. And then to your point, your most recently made point, in 2021, Trump was on Fox Business calling crypto a scam. But all that was before crypto billionaires began plowing big money into his latest campaign for president, and he and his family created their own crypto firm, World Liberty Financial. And then he appoints Paul Atkins to be the chair of the SEC with the goal of, again, something you raised already, giving less oversight, which is, I'm sure, the goal over these securities. It's going to allow for more of the theft and abuse and corruption to go on. A recent study estimated that crypto mining, and this is where I was reading about that. The consolidation of crypto mining efforts and the damage it's doing to the environment. Anyway, so that's that. But the point, really, my point was that Trump sort of probably by accident at one point was admitting this stuff is fake because he knew it was. And then once he got all this investment and campaign support, he changed his mind. And then they probably said, no, don't be so quick to condemn it. You can get, you can fleece some folks of your own here and appoint someone who can help a grand fleece continue on as well. So that's what it was, stories like that had me saying, let me reach back out to Professor Howson here and
yeah, I mean, as well, I don't know if I hope that you didn't watch it or go to it, but they have this annual meeting, the Bitcoin community, called the Bitcoin conference. It's normally in Miami, I believe. The last one though was in Nashville, if not the last two. But the keynote speaker was Donald Trump. And I mean, you hear him give his speech, and he still knows it's bullshit. He knows I'm conning these people. It's the way that he's sort of delivering this nonsense. That actually his mind hasn't changed at all. He's just seeing that he is a populist politician, and in order to win over his base, he needs to convince them that he's on their side, which is where this comes from. So he's not trying to sort of boost all the bullshit. He's just basically telling him, I know it's bullshit, but I'm on your side. The profiteers of this fuck. And you see,
Russell Brand. What is Snow? Where? Yeah, that's a little weird to me that Snowden's there. I guess I'm not paying attention enough to his.
No,
his
I mean, this
politics,
is
but-
another thing I was sort of looking at in the book as well. Like, essentially, why is this filth still floating? And it isn't because there's something in it technologically. It's because you've got these legitimizing parties that really want this stuff to work ideologically. I mean, the thing is, you mentioned that letter there. I think Stephen Deal kind of coordinated that in pulling these tech computer science experts together. Because at the time when that letter came out, I was invited to go to Washington to speak to the UNEP, the United Nations Environment Programme, and they wanted to do a special convention where they brought together all these experts on blockchain to try and basically say, how can we use this technology to speed up the development of the meeting of the Sustainable Development Goals. And I was there, trying to say we could use this technology to save forests and to, beat climate change and things like that. But I was the only one peddling the nonsense because everyone else there was a tech expert. They were a computer scientist, and they were sort of pushing me and saying, what do you mean? Like, I think you really misunderstand the sort of limitations of what this can do. When you say, decentralization, that doesn't mean what you think it means, like in a sort of computer science sense, and they were essentially saying you're always going to have some sort of regulator for this, some human beings that are sort of coding this and making it work. Like, so to think that you can have this fully autonomous economic system is just fanciful. And I think like it was at that point where I the wall was lifted over my eyes, really, and I was just like, this stuff doesn't do what it says on the tin. It is just a sort of language, the use of language, really, to make this scam work. And I mean, the people like what's his name? The Russian. He's Russian now, isn't he? I forgot his name.
Snowden.
Yeah, Edward Snowden. So he was
Snowden,
he was big into. He's a libertarian, so, So a lot of people, I think you and I think, would probably see eye to eye with on a political level, albeit for their sort of crypto libertarian connection.
Well, I wouldn't see eye to eye with the libertarianism, but my thing with Snowden would have been, I thought I was naive in thinking that the propaganda film, notwithstanding, made about him, but I was naive enough to think that even as a libertarian, he was not dumb enough or corrupt enough to be involved with this stuff. This stuff seems particularly overtly corrupt and easily observed as such. So, but again, that's just I don't pretend to know much about him, but I for some reason just assumed that much about him. But
I mean, something that I talk about in the early chapters of the book is just the really important role that people like the cyberpunk movements and people like Julian Assange played in the ascent of Bitcoin. And these are in he's in the same camp, I say, as Edward Snowden. I mean, just I don't know if we spoke about this last time we met. I don't want to repeat it, but
No, it's fine. I don't honestly don't. My memory is terrible, so we might as well. But you feel free to make the point again.
yeah. So I mean, Bitcoin back in the day, back in 2009, it was completely worthless. Like you can't do anything with this stuff because you can buy a SpongeBob SquarePants sticker or something for like 1,000 Bitcoin. Like this stuff is worthless, and these computer science geeks are sort of trading it because it's a hobby for them. There's no money in it or anything. I was a fan of Julian Assange. I was a fan of Edward Snowden. But I'm not a fan of how they, see the sort of virtuous quality of this ecosystem. I don't. I mean, it's got them out of a hole. Like Julian Assange, when WikiLeaks was being blockaded by all the payment rails, by PayPal, Visa, MasterCard, or whatever, his only way to save WikiLeaks was by soliciting for donations using Bitcoin. And then by doing that, it gave Bitcoin a value for the first time. Before that, you were just buying SpongeBob SquarePants stickers with it. This guy Laszlo bought 2 pizzas for 10,000 Bitcoin or something. It's at this point that actually, Julian Assange gives it a value. The market price goes skyrocketing, and Julian Assange gets really rich out of it. Snowden used it. Snowden escaped the US using Bitcoin, and he paid for all of his servers using Bitcoin. Like it got him out of a mess. But I don't think that means that I'm not on the run from the feds, so I don't need to use Bitcoin.
But even to your point, so look, I'm not on that level. I'm not mad at anybody. I get it. If you are trying to save your platform or save your freedom, I get it. People are going to do all kinds of things. That's one thing. Advocating this as a grand solution for everybody else is quite another problem. So, but practically speaking, when this is part of my question, so and I don't know this part. When Snowden uses Bitcoin to fund his escape, is he it's not that he's transacting in Bitcoin, he's getting paid in Bitcoin and then exchanging that for whatever currency and then making his payments, correct? It's not that he was actually getting Bitcoin and then paying it to cover whatever expenses, and same with Assange, right? It's that people were using the blockchain to transfer the coin, and then that was then converted into whatever currency they needed to pay whatever they needed to pay. Isn't that?
Yeah, I mean, I don't,
Because
and I don't resent you, Jared, for this, but I remember last time we were talking, and you got a donation, a very kind donation, from a Bitcoin investor.
Sinclair Skinner, who's a big black blockchain Bitcoin promoter who advocates routinely, and we have a friendly long, elongating disagreement on it. But yeah, he did. Yeah. But in US dollars, he didn't give me Bitcoin.
No. It's the same thing. I mean, all these people, as you're going back to your original point, that are now saying, look, I told you so. It's worth 100,000. It's just like, I'm really happy that you've realized that these useless things, you can now sell and make 100 grand just by selling one of them. That's brilliant. Good for you. And then they'll say, oh no, I'm not selling. It's like, well, there you are then. You're still in the casino. You're still in Wonderland. Like there's once you sell, then come back to me and then start saying that.
Well, my thing isn't that. It's that the claim isn't. See, but the promoters, they don't. A lot of the argument isn't that they're holding on so that it increases value and then they can sell it and make money. They keep wanting to promote it in many cases, specifically to Black America, as a currency that is going to take over the dollar. And if you have it, you'll be in charge. So that's why, even Hill Harper, the actor / politician, was promoting to black people that they buy Satoshis, buy 1/1 millionth or whatever of a Bitcoin, because eventually this is going to become the new currency, and even if you're buying at that small amount, they're going to, as he said, they're going to have to come through you. And I'm like, how does this work? Because if and that's why I'm asking that question about Assange and Snowden. Because if the whole point is you get it and then you have to convert it into some usable currency, where or its value is measured in an actual usable currency, then what are we talking about here? Other than the Snowden Assange need to get it to circumvent Swift or banking systems or whatever else to get their money, he's still got to go to get the ruble, and Assange's got to go get the pound or the whatever. I mean, it's like, and then as
But
we
to
said,
me,
yeah, sorry, go ahead. Yeah.
but to me, Jared, it sounds like you're describing an intermediary, which is something that Bitcoin was meant to remove, and it was
Oh,
meant
how
to
about that?
prevent centralization. And yet here you have these Bitcoin citadel fantasies, where you've got, you know, these people that are ruling over everyone as kings who were savvy enough to invest in crypto early, and then you've got these sort of eternal slaves, plebs like you and I, that will have to go through these intermediaries in order to buy food and things like that, because we weren't clever enough to buy sats, you know, stack our sats when we were told we should. And it's like, well, then that's, there you see, there you have your contradiction. Another one, as if you needed any more. Like
Right.
this thing is just mental gymnastics of nonsense.
So listen, that it covers what I wanted to talk about. If there's anything else you want to cover or bring up, I'm happy to do it. Again, I just want to remind folks, like for me, I was immediately drawn in your book, which will be linked in the show description again, to your introductory framing of the problem, the way each chapter seems to deal with a major claim, from banking the unbanked. I love the crypto colonists chapter, in terms of what this is really doing. Your concluding chapter is a critique of the claim around the untold benefits of Web3. So I want, just take yet another moment to invite people to revisit your book, and thank you very much.
I mean, a lot's happened since the book came out as well. And I think, that as much as I want to put this to bed and just be, look at it as some terrible part of some chapter of my life that I can now shoo away, but hang on, Ruth, I'm just talking. Sorry. I mean, I've done some more research visiting communities in Texas where it is, it's poor Black communities that are having to live next to these big Bitcoin mines in Granbury, that are, suffering from that, and communities of migrants that can't go outside and play with their kids and dogs because it's so noisy. And I'm also,
you're talking about the mining. These are mining ventures, Bitcoin mining ventures that are creating this.
Yeah, I mean, because the nature of a Bitcoin mine is that they're warehouses essentially that are full of computers, which are like a box with two fans on, and they're loud. They're like much louder than a hairdryer, and there are hundreds, thousands of them all stacked one on top of the other in shipping containers. So really loud, and they put them in places where rich people can afford not to live. So it's the poorest people. There's the same narrative of environmental racism that goes on with a lot of unwanted industries playing out again. I mean, did you probably see the riots that were going on in the UK in Middlesbrough? So we had a big summer of rioting in the UK after a young man who was mentally disturbed. He stabbed a young girl in the northwest of England, and because of these right-wing influences suggesting that he was an illegal migrant that had come to the country on a boat, it caused all of these riots to spread across the country. But it was these right-wing influencers which were also soliciting in Bitcoin at the same time. And it was almost like we can just spread these lies and be rewarded with these sort of stupid cryptocurrency nonsense. And it just, to me, it feels like the issues are constantly changing. This thing isn't going away, and it won't go away until I think governments really crack down on it. And I think, and I've always argued this, is that we need to have a global coordinated crackdown on this, the same as we crack down on smallpox and CFCs and all these other crap things. You know, crypto is one of these things that we would be better off if we just got rid of it.